When the mortal realm's in need of destruction, you better call on the Lord of Seduction. End of the world, it's almost time, but I'm gonna do it right, the perfect crime. Last night I had a dream. It was a dream of a disaster greater in scope even than your attempts to get a beach body via Slanesh's patented creme de la derriere diet. I dreamt of a defeat that would ring throughout history as the time the old world was saved. But when I woke, I detected the familiar signs that I was not alone in the room. The lights seemed to flicker. A glass of water trembled as if brushed by a passing breeze. Not to mention the fact that the Final Fantasy XIV battle theme was blaring at maximum volume, only just covering the screams of some kind of mentally compromised man-child that of course was confirmed to be the Lord of Change himself. Evidently, he had forgotten about his hilarious prank, so I decided to leave him a reminder in the form of a handwritten note from one Margaret the Potato, stating that she had fallen through the gaps in virtual reality and was trapped in the old world, in need of rescue by a brave and cunning prince such as he. Kept him busy enough for me to get the hypnotherapy I needed to work out what actually happened in that battle against the humans. Alright, Siggy, my luscious lad, close your eyes and clear your mind of all non-salacious thoughts. Imagine you're walking in an open field, completely natural and calm, safe for the thousands of cheap streetwalkers following your every move. Suddenly you come to a door. Come to a door, I said, and beside it is a sign that says $25 massage with real girl. But above that is another sign. A sign that says, the bleeding cold hard truth, mate. Can you stop touching me? Alright, yeah, sorry. Wandering hands, you know. Try to put a leash on them, but they just go wild. Start having their wavy way with all manner... The door? Oh, of course, the door. The door! So it's the door to the hidden truth, locked in your bonds by the darkest of magics that there ever did be. But there was one mistake that the weeaboo wizard made. He left the cat flap in the door. So how about this? You get down on your hands and knees, spreading your legs slightly apart, but slowly push your whole head inside. The cat flap? Oh, good idea. So, you ever gander through the flap, and you see the most amazing sight that you ever did behold through a small door installed in a larger door. Tell me what you see, my little golden clothes peeler. I see a small band of dead right-off riders attacking some human artillery and destroying them. Scandalous! What else? There's a large forest. How large? Could it conceal a hedgehog? A forest of trees, and in there my filthy followers are battling with the armour-plated advancers. And the hooved huffer himself, Kholek, was there, hammering away at them. Oh, God blimey! Alright, then what happened? Their army had so many shooters that a move to their rear found them to be quite exposed. Oh, it's a dream come true, my lad! And then both sides simply grinded against each other, ours on top and below, with theirs in the middle. Oh, it's the dirtiest sandwich this side of that discount Subway on the corner! And somehow, through all the mess, the humans realised that they couldn't last any longer. Oh! And suddenly it was all over. The whole thing going at once. Oh, I can't take it. Here, let me into your head. I want to have a look through this cat flip. So yes, turns out we somehow managed to cling on yet again, with Kholek escaping the humans and camping nearby to finally birth out some more malicious mannequins for his battle line. To help out, I even sent old No-Legs to go kill the human commander, just in case he had any ideas of redeeming his honour, and that seemed to be enough to end the great pursuit of my pupils. And that meant, with all other business finally concluded, it was time for some long overdue destruction. Grunberg, razed. Weissmund, razed. Middenheim, razed. Dieterschaffen, razed. Salzenmund, razed. Archeon got involved, and bang! Longship Graveyard, razed. Norden, razed. Icepack Bay, razed. Trollfjord, razed. Oh, that was when someone finally tried to stop us. The dwarves, who'd been trying to stop me back at the start, reappeared with a load of their micro-troops and threatened to bash up old Archie Boy. He probably would have beaten them, but he had a job to do and just continued on his way, safe in the knowledge that the trail of Lego bricks he was leaving behind him would destroy his pursuers slowly but steadily. While that was happening, I was starving out a large human force, and finally we got them. Wolfenburg razed. Archeon got some distance on the dwarves, thanks to his every step being 10 times the length of theirs, and he found more inexplicably Kislevi towns to de-ice. Back to me though. Hergig razed. Back to him. Serpent's Jetty razed. Back to me. Brasskeep razed. Next I wanted to hit Talabheim, but when I arrived the dastardly undead were already at it, trapping a human army inside the place with their 2 monster mashers. I noted that the vampires had actually started turning a rather large portion of the world into their little My Chemical Romance shrine. Worth keeping an eye on, but certainly not worth delaying the destruction any longer to ponder. Archeon was heading into the heart of Norska, and found the region to already be rather occupied with its own self-destruction efforts. Armies of chaos had sprung up all over the place, and were attempting to oust the humans and dwarves. And as you may recall, if there's one thing we chaos folk hate more than do-gooding mortals, it's other chaos folk. Trusting these rebellious toddlers to get the job done was about as likely to succeed as an expedition across a desert with cocaine instead of sand, manned entirely by Wall Street executives, local politicians from the world's top 50 metropoli, and that crazy Hoover from Teletubbies. Oh, and Gorsel razed. Then Archeon got to work. Doomkeep doomed. Marienburg razed. Doomkeep razed. Grungzint razed. Archeon struggled to pick a new target with the presence of the Dwarven armies, Beastmen armies, and the Junior League Chaos armies. He just had to wait his turn at the termination ticket trolley. And good things come to those who wait, specifically with the destruction of Grayling Mood. Razed. And then let me tell you a little something about a place called Coron. Razed. We were well and truly into the rhythm of things now. All was going exactly as I had thought the first day on the job would. Millions dead, a whole genocide at least weekly, and enough fire, blood and explosions to make all the Netflix back home look like commercials for Arnold Schwarzenegger's second attempt at a kindergarten. So need I really continue? Oh fine then. Languil, razed. Bjornling's Gathering, razed. Troll Fjord, razed again. Yes, it seemed like Cinch wasn't keeping entirely to his deal, but it was close enough for chaos work. Castle Artois, razed. Gizero, razed. Naglfari Plain, razed. Musilon, razed. Varg's Camp, which interestingly was the last redoubt of the suddenly extinct Kislevites, razed. Now, Altar of Spawns. Any guesses for Altar of Spawns? Razed? Razed! Lyonesse, razed. Aisling's Conclave, razed. Massive Dwarven armies that could have stopped me if they wanted, ran awayed. Winterpire, razed. Bordelot, razed. You might be wondering why the local Bretonnians weren't at all trying to stop me from destroying their entire nation down to the last bottle of wine. Well, at Bordelot I found that many of them had taken to a new life at sea, knowing that the sea was harder to burn than forests and fields, so they might just escape from the full force of my 420 Razed rampage. A truly drunken cunning. Aquitaine razed. Now Archeon swapped a syllable and went from razing to raiding, as the dwarves he had run up against had actually decided to bother defending their settlement, and that was really all it took to ruin my plan. So he went around raiding the various surface towns, for which the dwarves are of course famous, and he was getting pretty rich because of it. Not that we weren't already watering down our food with cash to make it more filling. Montfort razed. Now what was it I did next? It was something to do with fire, perhaps a little slaughter. There were various acts of dining on mortal flesh and blotting out the sun with the ashes of a million innocents. What was it? Oh, how could I forget? Carrick Ziflin razed. Archeon got bored since the Crackerjacks didn't come out to fight, so he went and stopped the raise train at Skjoktraken. Blackstone Post raised, Helm Guard raised, until finally he decided to just besiege the big army of smalls in their big holes with walls and see if they would realise that they had enough troops to easily end our rampage then and there. Spoiler, they didn't. Paravon raised, Crack-a-Track raised. Now Kinnell, there's a little conundrum. Of course it's fair to say Kinnell raised, but it wasn't by our hands. The beastmen, the cousins of we chaos folk, had done the job for us. I wasn't a huge fan of the beastmen. It was a sly excuse to let particularly ugly creatures into the chaos ranks, all under the PR beacon of, now you and your goat can join chaos. But they'd done me proud on this occasion, something that our foes could hardly say about their allied powers. Brion raised. Archeon finished off the last hold of the North Dwarfs, and was even so lucky as to encounter the last members of their population down in the basement while he was down there looking for the manual for his internet router. At last his constant texts of, "What's the difference between WEP and WPA security? And how do you put out an electrical wire? Would come to an end. So with Crack-a-Track now in a grave out back, he was left with only vampiric targets to give a target talking to. Since that would probably be a tiny bit harder than taking on buckets of frozen pacifist dwarves, I had him impregnated by a dragon ogre. See cornsforlornporn.ch for more details. And out popped little baby Kholek. Castle Carcassonne raised, by the way. Note that down. All caps, please. R-A-Z-E-D and 4 exclamation marks and 3 kisses. Good. And so then a great war began, with the forces of a fiery kind of darkness versus those of a more sticky kind of darkness. Zoishenk fell immediately, but we were also quick to run into the fact that our men were all spooked beyond belief by the scary spider webs and jack-o'-lanterns the vamps left around the place, causing the suicide rate to raise like someone's wish that it could be Christmas every day had come true. Next, Kholek was consuming a tower of crack, and then, in his come-down rage, he destroyed the tower of crack. Can you put in some audience laughter there? We're not doing a laughter track. Oh, right. Well, I guess in that case I'll just continue my story. Kholek, as usual, was assassinated by a scary Bloody Mary. In fact, it was a little something like this. Next! Being a rather popular chap, I suddenly found myself surrounded by humans, springing up from the forests with their little happy birthday banners, party poppers, and for some reason a selection of magical death lasers and tanks. Well, since they put all the effort in, I thought it would be quite rude of me to not kill at least one of those armies, and I figured we'd have the most fun playing Laser Tag Hardcore Edition. Come back in a moment and I'll spew you a true view on the pew-pew to do Q. Laughter, please.